This is Josh Naylor's first at bat for the Seattle Mariners. Naylor was recently acquired from the Arizona Diamondbacks in exchange for 2 prospects. As you can see, it appears he's still wearing a Diamondbacks belt. Batting fourth today for Seattle, Naylor is first pitch swinging and will be back for his second at bat because that is a ground out to first base. Naylor's likely going to play every day at first base for Seattle for the remainder of the season as he makes the catch here. Now we're back with his second at bat as he takes ball 1 low on the fastball. Naylor's had a pretty solid year so far in Arizona. Batting average over 290, OPS over 800, 11 home runs, and a career high 11 stolen bases. Here he's going to line one down the first baseline and foul. Naylor's always been more of a contact over power guy, but he definitely can bring the boom when needed. 1-2 count here. He's going to strike out swinging on the splinker outside the zone. Naylor is probably best known nationally for his fiery outbursts while he was a member of the Cleveland Guardians, including this one and when he let Garrett Cole know that he was his little baby son. But Josh Naylor is a truly great hitter, a great fit for the Seattle Mariners team in need of a first baseman. And even though he's calmed himself down recently, he's still a very fun player to watch. Wishing him the best in Seattle. This is Ryan McMahon's first at bat for the New York Yankees. McMahon was just acquired from the Rockies for 2 single-A prospects. Swing and the miss on the breaking ball brings his first at bat in New York to 0-2. McMahon slotted 8th in the lineup today for New York, and he looks like he's going to be the solution, at least right now, for the Yankees at third base. One of the biggest questions at this trade deadline were who were the Yankees going to get to play third base, and it looks like they solved that problem early on, going out and getting McMahon. McMahon had not had a great year so far in Colorado for his standards. OPS under 700, second in the league in errors. But even with 16 errors, he will still make the highlight play from time to time. He plays primarily third base, which is exactly what the Yankees needed. However, he will play second base, first base, maybe even corner outfield if you need him to. He is also in the midst of a $70 million contract that doesn't expire until 2027, so the Yankees are locked in with him for a while. But honestly, I don't think that money is that big of a priority for the Yankees as he strikes out in his first at-bat in pinstripes. I think the Yankees are buying low on a guy that they're expecting to get back to his prime form. Let's take a look at what else he did today. He struck out in his second at-bat. In his third at-bat, he would record his first hit for the Yankees, a single. McMahon has been a pretty consistent, good bat throughout his career, and yes, he has been playing in Coors Field in Colorado, but the Yankees have a pretty good offensive environment too, and I think there's a chance he can regain his top form surrounded by some better bats in New York. It'll be interesting to see how this one pans out long term as McMahon draws his first walk for the Yankees in his last at bat of the day. This is Randal Grichuk's first at-bat for the Kansas City Royals. The Royals were in desperate need for a right-handed hitting outfielder, and they solved that issue by going out and trading for Randal Grichuk in the middle of a Diamondbacks game. Andrew Hoffman from the Royals is going to Arizona in the deal. He's a fringe major league reliever who should step into a depth role in Arizona. Grichuk is a grizzled veteran at this point. He's been traded 5 times in his career. You can see him here saying goodbye to all his teammates. He knows the drill by this point. And now he's in Kansas City, and he's having a pretty good year. OPS over 700. First pitch of this bat, strike 1. Grichuk might not only be the best right-handed hitting outfielder for the Royals, he may now be their best hitting outfielder, period. 1-1 count now. He's going to hit a single into left field to Steven Kwan. That is his first hit in a Kansas City Royals uniform. Batting 1,000 for the Royals, hanging his jersey in the rafters. We got another look at it here. He just lines this one past the diving Arias into left field. A classic single. I think this trade will end up being a solid piece of business for the Kansas City Royals. Yesterday, Gregory Soto made his first appearance for the New York Mets. Soto was recently acquired from the Baltimore Orioles in exchange for 2 minor This is Amed Rosario's first at-bat for the New York Yankees. The Yankees recently acquired Rosario from the Nationals for Clayton Beeter, a fringe MLB reliever, and Braum Martinez, an 18-year-old outfielder prospect who was hitting .404 in rookie ball before being injured. The one-time Mets top prospect Amed Rosario has become somewhat of a journeyman at this point of his career as he swings and misses inside at a slider for the first pitch of his at-bat. He was traded to Cleveland as a part of the Francisco Lindor deal, and since then has been moved to the Dodgers, Rays, Dodgers again, the Reds, the Nationals, and now the Yankees. A shortstop by trade, Amed Rosario has learned to play a ton of different positions. However, defense is not his strong suit. He's not particularly good at any of those positions, which is one reason I don't really like this trade for the Yankees, as one of their big needs right now is defense. At one time, Rosario was one of the fastest runners in the league. He has regressed to about league average recently. But the one thing that Rosario does really well is hit left-handed pitching. He was pretty much strictly a platoon bat in Washington, and that appears to be how the Yankees are going to use him here, as they're using him as a pinch hitter here against a left-handed reliever. I assume that he also could be a platoon option with Ryan McMahon, as he smacks a single into left field for his first hit in a Yankees uniform. Here's the replay here. He gets ahead of the breaking ball on the inside part of the plate, smacks it into left field. He's cooking it out of the box, looking for two, but he decides to go back and settle for the single. Amed would stay in the game in right field. I'm wishing for the best for him in his career now, even if he is a Yankee.
This is Erick Fedde's first start for the Atlanta Braves.
Atlanta recently acquired Erick Fedde from St. Louis after he was DFA'd by the Cardinals. The former KBO MVP revived his MLB career in 2024 with the Chicago White Sox before being traded to the Cardinals at last year's trade deadline. Mound visit as he tries to figure out his new pitch comm. Fedde followed up his impressive 2024 campaign with a pretty disappointing 2025 so far. Here he gets Jonathan India to pop out to center field for his first out in a Braves uniform. Now facing 2024's AL MVP runner-up Bobby Witt, he gets him to strike out with a 91-mile-per-hour fastball at the top of the zone. Pretty good start to the game for Fedde, but that would come to an end here as he gives up an absolute tank to Vinny Pasquantino. Then a single to Michael Garcia, but he would get Salvador Perez to ground out to stop the bleeding at 1 run. Fedde doesn't have overpowering stuff, sinker, cutter, sweeper, change, with the sweeper being the best pitch. But Atlanta is hurting for arms right now, and they need someone to eat up innings. And Fedde did that a little bit here as he strikes out Bobby Witt again. But this would be his last out of the game, as the Braves would go to the bullpen after this at-bat. Fedde would pick up the loss in his debut, going 4 2/3 innings, giving up 4 earned runs, 5 hits, while picking up 3 strikeouts, 2 of them against Bobby Witt Jr. Seranthony Dominguez swapped dugouts yesterday mid-doubleheader as he was traded from the Orioles to the Blue Jays in the middle of their 2 games. The Orioles received Blue Jays number 10 prospect Jaron Watts Brown in the deal, and the Blue Jays, one of the hottest teams in baseball, added a high-leverage reliever to their bullpen and didn't wait to use him. And yes, the 8 is upside down on his jersey. They only had about 2 hours to get that ready. Dominguez has elite swing and miss stuff, a high 90s fastball, a sweeper with lots of movement, but really his best pitch is his splitter. The one knock on Dominguez is his ability to limit walks is not very good. Control is sometimes an issue, but you take that risk when you have the strikeout reward of Seranthony Dominguez. Here he's trying to figure out his new pitch comm, and let's see how he did in his first inning for the Jays. He strikes out his first batter, Colton Cowser, on that splitter. He would then hit Dylan Carlson with the first pitch in the next at-bat, a sweeper. Carlson would steal second base, but Seranthony Dominguez would catch him in the act as he was trying to steal third. That's the second out of the inning. And he would come right back and strike out Jackson Holliday with another nasty splitter. Not a bad outing against his former teammates. Seranthony Dominguez is going to be a pivotal piece in this Blue Jays bullpen for their playoff push. This is Chris Paddack's Detroit Tigers debut. Paddack was acquired from the division rival Minnesota Twins earlier this week, with the Tigers looking to add arms to their banged-up starting rotation for the home stretch of this season. Paddack is putting together a healthy season for the first time in a long time, and the Tigers are banking on him to remain healthy. Here he shatters Corbin Carroll's bat and gets him to ground out for his first out in Motor City. Paddack isn't blowing anyone away with his 94-mile-per-hour fastball, but if there is one thing Paddack is going to do is he's going to make the batters put the ball in play. And the best case scenario for the Tigers is that their ballpark that favors pitchers works in Paddock's favor. Here he's going to get Ketel Marte to fly out to left field. Along with that fastball, Paddock throws a changeup, slider, curve, cutter, and sinker. Here he's going to give up his first hit of the day to Perdomo. But in the very next at bat, Perdomo is going to take a big lead. Paddock's going to step off and calmly walk towards him. Perdomo breaks his own ankles, and Paddock will let his infielders take care of this one. Perdomo tagged out to end the inning. Not a bad first inning for the Tigers' newest pitcher. This is Danny Jansen's first at bat for the Milwaukee Brewers. Jansen is best known as the first player in MLB history to play for 2 teams in one game. This is due to the fact that Jansen was traded from the Blue Jays to the Red Sox at last year's trade deadline, and the Jays and Sox had a game suspended before the trade deadline when Danny Jansen was a part of the Blue Jays, and then they resumed that game after the deadline when Danny Jansen was a part of the Red Sox as he ropes the 1-2 pitch down the line for a foul ball. Jansen is a veteran catcher who will likely fill in a backup role in Milwaukee. A solid enough hitting catcher, posting an OPS over 700 in his time with Tampa Bay so far this season. He knows the strike zone well and will take his walks. He is also one of the best blocking catchers in the sport, while his framing does leave something to be desired. Jansen is one of the last guys in the major leagues to go old school, no batting gloves, but he strikes out looking to end his first at bat for the Brewers. This is Carlos Carrasco's first start for the Atlanta Braves. The now 38-year-old starter was recently DFA'd from the New York Yankees and was subsequently traded to the Atlanta Braves, who are in desperate need of starting pitching right now. Carrasco looked like he may have been on a farewell tour in his second stint in Cleveland in 2024, but in 2025 he's showing everyone that he's still got something in the tank. Carrasco has always had good command with a good slider, and his changeup has been his best pitch so far this year. He has a low 90s fastball and sinker and a curveball too. He's got 2 quick outs to start this game and gets Elly De La Cruz to fly out to center field for a perfect start to his Braves debut. He would later give up a home run to Elly, but he put together a very good outing in his first start for Atlanta. 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, and 5 strikeouts. On top of being a good pitcher, Carrasco is also a good human. Charitable in the community, he won the Roberto Clemente Award in 2019. He's also a leukemia survivor. Carlos Carrasco is one of my favorite Cleveland athletes of all time, and I will be rooting for him for the rest of his career. Off to a good start in Atlanta. This is Ke'Bryan Hayes' first at bat for the Cincinnati Reds. The defense first third baseman was acquired from the division rival Pittsburgh Pirates just yesterday. The first pitch he sees for the Reds is a ball outside. Ke'Bryan Hayes has developed into the best defensive third baseman in baseball. However, the bat has not materialized in his time in Pittsburgh. Here he lines one to the first baseman Matt Olson, an unlucky end to his first at bat for the Reds. And with everything being said about his defense, he did make a costly error for the Reds tonight, which was a part of a rally that allowed the Braves to take an 11-3 lead against the Reds. But Ke'Bryan Hayes was not done contradicting the scouting report yet, as he would make up for it by blasting a 3-run home run to the bleachers. This homer was a catalyst to the Reds' own 8-run inning, tying this ball game up at 11. Unfortunately, the Reds would fail to complete the comeback, losing this one in extras 12-11. Ke'Bryan ended his night 1 for 5 with 3 RBIs, the home run, and the error, something that's not really characteristic of him, but I'm sure the defense will come around. Hopefully the bat stays hot for him. This is Austin Slater's first plate appearance for the New York Yankees. Slater was recently acquired from the Chicago White Sox and was the third of a flurry of moves made by the New York Yankees. Slater is a veteran right-handed hitting outfielder who will primarily play in the corner outfield spots. He checks his swing here to stay alive in an 0-2 count. He will likely be a platoon option as he's been way better against left-handed pitching this year, similar to Ahmed Rosario. So it'll be interesting to see how the Yankees fit both of them in the lineup as Slater goes down swinging in his first at-bat in pinstripes. But right now, the Yankees are pretty banged up and need Slater to play. Additionally, the starter for the Rays, Ryan Pepiot, has kind of a weird changeup that's actually more like a left-handed pitcher. So the thought would be that Slater would have a better matchup against Pepiot, even though he is a righty. In Slater's second at-bat, he would get an RBI on this fielder's choice by Junior Caminero. He beats out the double play. Good hustle by Slater, didn't really even make it close with Caminero's bobble. Jazz Chisholm scores. Slater would finish the day 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts, but he did have the RBI. Eugenio Suarez made his grand return for Seattle last night. This is Suarez's first at-bat for the Mariners since 2023 after he was traded to the Diamondbacks in 2024, then now being reacquired by the Mariners the night before making his return. Eugenio Suarez is the second acquisition by the Mariners from the Diamondbacks at this year's deadline, Josh Naylor being acquired just days before. Suarez starts this at-bat off 0-2. Let's see if he can fight back. They call him Gino in Seattle. He was a fan favorite during his 2 years there, and I'm sure they're welcoming his arrival with open arms. Suarez was one of the hottest bats on the market this deadline, coming in with 36 home runs and tied for the lead in MLB for RBIs with his now teammate Cal Raleigh. He strikes out swinging in his first at-bat of the day, but in his second at-bat, he would rope a ground ball down the third baseline for a double. But despite Suarez being one of the biggest names on the market this year, the Mariners didn't really have to give up that much to get him. A prospect that I'm not too high on, Tyler Locklear, was the centerpiece of the deal. He is a free agent at the end of the season, but this is good value for the Mariners. He would later score on a wild pitch and end the day 1 for 4 with a run scored. Seattle wins this one 6-0. This is Andrew Kittredge's first appearance for the Chicago Cubs. The one-time all-star reliever is mostly a sinker slider guy. He throws his slider more than 50% of the time, and here he is making his first appearance for Chicago against the team that just traded him, the Baltimore Orioles. Kittredge's addition to the Chicago roster came at the expense of former Astros closer Ryan Pressly, who was one of the key additions for the Cubs this offseason. Things obviously didn't go too well with him. Hopefully Kittredge can be a better experience for the Cubs. Only took him 3 pitches to get his first out. Let's see how he does for the rest of the inning. The 35-year-old doesn't look like he's throwing with that much effort, but he gets a lot of spin rate on those pitches. Strikes out Tyler O'Neill on the slider for his second out of the inning. Let's take another look at that. He's going to get Colton Cowser looking with another slider to end the inning. 10 pitches in a perfect frame for Andrew Kittredge in his Chicago Cubs debut. This is Johan Duran's first appearance for the Philadelphia Phillies. Duran is a flame-throwing right-handed closer who has one of the most electric walkouts in all of baseball. The aura is off the charts, and so is the fastball, and so is the splitter. He's got a pretty good curveball and sweeper as well. Duran was acquired by the Phillies at the deadline with a pretty sizable prospect package going back to Minnesota in the deal. Duran has been one of the elite relievers in the game for some time now. He doesn't give up a lot of contact, and when he does, it's weak ground balls. He's a little below average at limiting walks, but everything else is as good as it's gonna get. His first pitch for Philly is a 98-mile-per-hour splitter. Yes, splitter for a strike. He follows that up with a 99-mile-per-hour splitter that's grounded to shortstop for the first out of the inning. Duran facing a familiar foe here in the Tigers. He throws in a 100-mile-per-hour splitter to Torkelson. He pops out to first base. 2 outs now, Riley Green up. He's going to throw a 99-mile-per-hour splitter that he's going to line out to left field to end the game. Johan Duran closes the door on Detroit once again. The Phillies got a new closer, and it's Johan Duran. This is Mason Miller's first appearance for the San Diego Padres. Mason Miller, one of the biggest names to be moved at this year's trade deadline. The San Diego Padres gave up the number 3 prospect in all of baseball, Leo DeVries, to have Miller on their team, and they're bringing him in here in the 8th inning. Miller started his career with the A's as a starter, and his fastball is his big ticket item here. You see him hitting 103 on the radar gun. Miller has looked unhittable at times. Here he throws a slider. Mason Wynn gets a hit off of him. Look, I know that's not great advertisement for him right there, but he was unbelievable last year, and he's been really good this year as well. He's thrown the 5 fastest pitches of the year so far, and here he gets a ground ball to Manny Machado, who does not field it cleanly. Runners at first and third, no outs. Miller, who strikes out batters at more than 39% of the time, gets a big strikeout here. 103 on the fastball, nobody's touching that. And then he gets a ground ball on the slider, double play. He gets out of the inning. That's huge, and that's why the Padres traded for him. Mason Miller, will he be a starter? Will he be a reliever? All I know is he's really good. This is Mike Yastrzemski's first at-bat for the Kansas City Royals. Mike is the grandson of legendary Red Sox outfielder Carl Yastrzemski, and he's not too bad of a ball player himself. Mike Yastrzemski is a veteran outfielder who's played his entire career for the San Francisco Giants. He was relatively old when he made his major league debut at 28 years old in 2019, but he's done nothing but produce in the years since, putting up 2+ WAR in all 7 of his seasons so far. Yastrzemski is as solid as it gets in the outfield. He hasn't had his best year at the plate so far, but he's a smart base runner, he has a good arm in the outfield, and he makes good swing decisions. If I were to sum up Mike Yastrzemski in one word, it would be fundamental. Now in a 2-2 count, he's gonna pull a splitter on the outside half of the plate over the wall for a home run in his first at-bat for the Kansas City Royals. Yastrzemski did not get a hit for the rest of this game, going 1 for 3, but that does not matter. This is a successful debut just off this home run alone. Will Mike Yastrzemski and Randal Grichuk finally be the answers for the Kansas City Royals to get some production from their outfield? All 3 of the Yankees' new relief pitchers made their debuts last night for New York, and it was nothing short of a disaster. Let's start with Jake Bird, a funky reliever with a nasty breaking ball who came into the 7th inning to protect a 5-run lead for the Yankees. Here he gives up a single to the first batter he faces, follows that up with a strikeout, but then another single, a walk, then a grand slam to all-star Kyle Stowers cuts the Yankees' lead to 1. And that would be curtains for Bird, a disastrous third of an inning for him. The Yankees turn to David Bednar to clean up the mess here. The former Pirates all-star closer has been lights out this year but has struggled in Miami in the past. He throws his power fastball to collect a ground out for a quick and easy second out of the inning. But in the next at-bat, he throws another fastball that's absolutely crushed for a home run. We got a tie ball game. Another fastball over the plate to Jacob Marcy gives Marcy his first career hit, a double in the gap. Xavier Edwards follows that up with a chopper to Anthony Volpe, who was unable to field it. Then Augustin Ramirez, who was acquired from the Yankees in the Jazz Chisholm trade, ropes a single into left for an RBI, taking the lead for the Marlins. Bednar would induce a pop-out to end this disaster of an inning, but the damage was already done. Bednar would come back out for the 8th inning and look a little bit better, picking up 2 strikeouts and a ground out for a nice bounce-back inning. And the Yankees would regain the lead and give the ball to Camilo Doval to close it out in the 9th. Doval, the former Giants all-star closer with a power cutter and slider, he gets an easy first out with the ground ball to the first baseman, but he leaves a slider over the plate for a single, walks the 9-hole hitter, then gives up another single to Xavier Edwards. Then fellow Yankees newcomer Jose Caballero lets the ball go right past him, allowing 2 runs to score. Absolutely awful mistake by Caballero. Now a tie game, infield is in. Augustin Ramirez hits a little tapper in front of the plate, and the speedy Xavier Edwards is able to slide in there for the win. A complete nightmare game for 4 of the newest Yankees. This is Carlos Correa's first at-bat for the Houston Astros since 2021. The former Rookie of the Year and 3-time All-Star had a very illustrious career with Houston. Now, if you think that's influenced by cheating or not, he was very good while he was on the Astros. After his first stint with Houston, he signed a free agent deal with Minnesota, opted out in the first year, and tried to test the free agency waters again. He failed 2 physicals, one with the Giants and one with the Mets. As a pickoff attempt on Jesus Sanchez goes haywire here, he's going to try to go for third, and he's going to get thrown out easily, ending the inning. We'll be back with Correa's first at-bat in the 2nd inning. Correa resumes his first at-bat with a fresh count here in the 2nd inning. In 2023, Correa re-signed with the Minnesota Twins on a massive 10-year contract, keeping him under contract until 2033. Here, Correa is going to pop one up to his former teammate in Houston, Alex Bregman. Kind of poetic here. For one reason or another, Minnesota came to regret that contract and decided to ship Correa off by any means necessary. They traded him for a 26-year-old pitching prospect at high A, Matt Mikulski. That's a good piece of trivia right there. Correa lined out here and went 0 for 4 on the day with a strikeout, but I know Houston's happy to have him back. This is Brandon Lockridge's first at bat for the Milwaukee Brewers. Lockridge is not the biggest name to be traded at this year's deadline, coming in with an OPS of 519. He did perform much better at his games at AAA this year with an OPS of almost 900. Lockridge was acquired from San Diego in exchange for left-handed starter Nestor Cortez and was one of just 2 bats acquired by the Brewers at this year's deadline. The Brewers, who sit atop the National League at this point and have a starting rotation that is good enough to compete for a World Series, had a pretty disappointing trade deadline, all things considered. Picking up Lockridge, catcher Danny Jansen, right-handed reliever Shelby Miller, and left-handed starter Jordan Montgomery. They definitely could have used some more offensive firepower, and with the injury to Jackson Chourio, this is one of the reasons why Lockridge is being thrown directly into the fire batting leadoff tonight for the Brewers. He strikes out in his first at bat, but is able to pick up his first hit for the Brewers with this single. Here he is learning his new team's celebrations. Then he picked up his second hit for the Brewers with another opposite field single. He went 2 for 6 in this one with a walk and a run. Brewers win this one 16-9. This is Alex Call's first at bat for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Maybe not the big name we were all expecting the Dodgers to go out and get at this deadline, but Alex Call is a very capable platoon bat. He doesn't have much power, but he hits left-handed pitching really well. He fields his position decently enough. He's got decent speed, and he has a great eye at the plate. Alex Call started his career in Cleveland, where he really never caught on, but he moved on to Washington and really cemented his role in the major leagues. Dodgers fans, if you remember Ahmed Rosario, Call can give you everything he did, but he has way better plate discipline. I expect Call to settle into a platoon role with Michael Conforto, maybe even taking over full time, especially if he can put up some better numbers against right-handed pitchers. He takes ball 1 here, now watches strike 1. I know a lot of Dodgers fans were hoping to land Stephen Kwan at the deadline. Thankfully, he is still a Cleveland Guardian for my sanity's sake. But Alex Call is a former Cleveland Guardian and a pretty solid player. He's going to ground out to shortstop here, but I'm expecting him to play a role for the Dodgers. This is Cedric Mullins' first at bat for the New York Mets. Mullins was just acquired from the Baltimore Orioles, where he was one of the faces of the franchise in the past 5 years, posting an OPS over 700 every year since 2020 and making an all-star game in 2021. He's also great with the glove and has a habit of robbing home runs. Quick with his feet, Mullins is on pace to steal more than 20 bases this year. This year hasn't been Mullins' best year at the plate. May and June especially were pretty rough months for him, but he really turned things around in July, posting an OPS of 868 for the month. Mullins was a 13th round pick out of Campbell University who shot up the Orioles farm system once being drafted. Here he's going to pop out in his first at bat for the Mets. At 30 years old, Mullins is a free agent at year's end, and the Mets gave up a trio of young pitchers to land him for the end of the season, the highest ranked being Anthony Nunez, but it's actually Ramon Gomez that piques my interest with a 104-mile-per-hour fastball. Mullins would come in to play center field, but would not get another at bat. This is Willie Castro's first at bat for the Chicago Cubs. The switch-hitting super utility man started his career in the Cleveland Guardians organization before being traded in 2018 for Leonys Martin. He spent a few years in Detroit, but elected free agency in 2022. Here he's going to slap a ball the other way, which appears to be caught by Colton Cowser. But the Cubs would challenge, and he did indeed get that ball down. This is Ty France's first at bat for the Toronto Blue Jays. Ty France is a journeyman 31-year-old infielder who has only played first base this year. He was a 34th round pick in 2015, the 1017th pick of the draft. The San Diego Padres selected him out of San Diego State, and he made his debut for the Padres in 2019. In 2020, he was traded to the Seattle Mariners alongside Andres Munoz in exchange for Austin Nola and Austin Adams. Ended up being a really good trade for Seattle, and Ty France had his 2 best years for the Mariners in 2020 and 2021. France bounces the ball to shortstop and grounds out in his first at bat for Toronto. Ty France was an all-star in 2022 and was traded to the Reds in 2024. He signed as a free agent with Minnesota in 2025 and was one of the many players traded by them at the deadline this year. France hasn't had a great year so far, but the underlying metrics point to him being a little unlucky. He strikes out here to end the game. He went 0 for 4 in his Blue Jays debut. This is Jesus Sanchez's first at-bat for the Houston Astros. Sanchez, an outfielder who spent his entire career with the Miami Marlins, swings the bat harder than most players in the major leagues. He's been a pretty average hitter throughout his time in Miami, but all of his expected metrics, his xWOBA, expected batting average, expected slugging, average exit velocity, have all been above average in the past 3 years. The Astros are going to look to tap into some of that potential this year as he swings and misses on the changeup, bringing this count to 1-1. He's a very capable fielder at either corner outfield position and even played center field sometimes for the Marlins. His debut with the Astros was somewhat overshadowed by Carlos Correa's return, but it was actually Sanchez who had the better game. Here he's going to poke through a ground ball base hit right field for his first hit with his new team. Not a bad way to start the day. However, things would get a little bit weird after that. A botched pickoff attempt sends Sanchez to second base, but he chooses to get aggressive and go for third. He's out by a mile. A bad base running mistake. Maybe he just doesn't have the chemistry with the third base coach yet. He would make up for it though, collecting another hit on an opposite field single against the shift. Batting from the 3-hole, Jesus Sanchez would finish his Astros debut 2 for 4. This is Ryan Helsley's first appearance for the New York Mets. Helsley enters to the tune of Hell's Bells in a tie ball game in the 9th, looking to send this one to extra innings. A free agent in 2026, Helsley was acquired from the St. Louis Cardinals at this year's trade deadline, with the Mets sending a package of prospects including infielder Jesus Baez to the Cardinals. Helsley is a flamethrower, throwing a 100-mile-per-hour fastball in his first pitch in Queens, then striking out McRae with an 101-mile-per-hour fastball up in the zone, straight cheddar. He throws his slider even more than his fastball, and it's been his best pitch so far. He gives up a single here to Patrick Bailey on that slider, but he would stick to his bread and butter, come right back with a slider, and strike out Elliot Ramos. Helsley was a 2-time All-Star in St. Louis and even won Reliever of the Year in 2024. His one weakness is giving up hard contact as he gives up another hit to Devers, but he would get Adames swinging on a slider in the dirt to end the inning, sending it to extras. Pretty good debut for the Mets' new setup man. Two newly acquired relievers made their first appearance for the Los Angeles Angels in the same night. The first being Kent State alumni Andrew Chafin. The veteran lefty was acquired from the Washington Nationals alongside Luis Garcia, who you will see later in this video. This is Chafin's 9th team in his 12-year MLB career. Chafin doesn't throw as hard as he used to, his sinker topping out at 90 miles per hour, but his slider is his best pitch. He gets hitters to chase and prevents hard contact. Chafin has found ways to be productive in his later years of his career. Great catch here by Taylor Ward. And Chafin is coming into this game with an ERA under 3. He would give up 2 hits to Tauchman and Cuero here, but then he's going to get Miggy Vargas to pop it up into foul territory. Logan O'Hoppe is going to make this play, but Andrew Chafin shows great hustle to get over there too, gaining respect from his new catcher. He gets Benintendi to ground out to end a clean inning of relief in his Angels debut. Now on to Luis Garcia, who also came over from the Nationals in the same trade. A pretty odd trade that saw the Angels buying at the deadline despite not really being contenders, but honestly kind of what we come to expect from the Angels in recent years. Garcia gives up a single to the first batter he faces, Luis Robert, then an RBI single to Lenin Sosa. Garcia would bounce back, striking out Colson Montgomery on the splitter, then dotting the inside of the zone with a 97-mile-per-hour sinker that results in an inning-ending double play. 2 hits, 1 run, and a strikeout for Luis Garcia in his debut. This is Carlos Hernandez's first appearance for the Cleveland Guardians. Coming into the 9th inning with the Guardians down 3 runs, this is not a high leverage situation. Hernandez was the lone major league player that the Guardians added at this year's trade deadline, claiming him off waivers from Detroit. Here he's going to get Christian Vasquez to fly out to right field for his first out in a Guardians uniform. Hernandez has a big fastball, but he hasn't looked great so far this year with Detroit and Philadelphia. He throws that big fastball more than 50% of the time, but perhaps he can improve throwing more splitters. Once upon a time, Hernandez was a starter in Kansas City, and he was pretty good in 2021, posting an ERA of 3.68 over 24 games, 11 of those being starts. Also notice that he has great extension in his delivery, a metric that Cleveland is enamored with lately. I wasn't expecting much when the Guards claimed him, but you know what? I am intrigued. Hernandez obviously has talent. Let's see if Carl Willis and the Cleveland Guardians staff can help him hone in on that talent and have it convey into production on the mound. Once again, this is Steven Matt's first appearance for the Boston Red Sox. The veteran lefty is now in his 11th season in the show, and he gets on the first pitch a pop out to the first baseman for his first Red Sox out. When Matt's debuted all the way back in 2015, he was a starter in some pretty good New York Mets rotations. Since then, he's bounced around to Toronto and St. Louis, where he's been in and out of the bullpen, but in 2025, he's made most of his appearances as a reliever, and he's found quite a bit of success. Here he's going to walk one of the newest Astros, Ramon Urias, but he's going to bounce right back and strike out Jose Altuve with a sinker at his eyeballs. That sinker has been Matt's best pitch this year, but his curveball has also been really good. He gets another new Astro, Jesus Sanchez, to pop the curveball into center field. Ceddanne Rafaela makes the catch. Steven Matz has a scoreless first frame in Boston. It is also of note that Boston traded Blaze Jordan to get just 1/2 season of Steven Matz. Blaze Jordan has an OPS over 860 this year at AA and AAA. He's not the highest ranked prospect, but he was a childhood phenom who has big pop. This is Freddie Fermin's first start for the San Diego Padres. Fermin was recently acquired from the Kansas City Royals, and the first pitch he's going to see in a Padres uniform is an RBI ground out to second base, putting the Padres on top in the second inning. Fermin to the Padres was one of the most unexpected trades for me at this year's deadline, mostly because the Royals were adding pieces in the trade market. The Royals did get 2 major league ready arms in Ryan Burgett and Stephen Kolek, but this leaves an aging Sal Perez and Luke Maile as the only active catchers for the Kansas City Royals. Fermin, in my opinion, is a good catcher, solid defensively, and has a good bat for a catcher, normally sitting around an OPS of 700. Maybe the fact that the Royals' top 2 prospects being both catchers incentivizes them to make this move. The Padres were in need of a catcher as their starter Elias Diaz is having a pretty rough year at the plate, so I like this trade for them. Fermin gets his first hit and second RBI as a Padre. Will Freddie Fermin end up being the San Diego Padres' new starting catcher? This is Kyle Finnegan's first time entering a game for the Detroit Tigers. The former Nationals closer was born in Detroit, Michigan, all the way back in 1991. Finnegan was an all-star in 2024, and he's been a pretty solid reliever his whole career. He's got a 3-pitch mix, a 96-mile-per-hour fastball, 87-mile-per-hour splitter, and 84-mile-per-hour slider, though he mostly sticks with the fastball and the splitter. He comes into this game with 2 outs in the 8th inning, looking to lock down a 4-out save, and he's got a good start getting the former Tiger Castellanos to ground out to third base. Now on to the 9th inning, he's going to get Phillies newcomer Harrison Bader to ground out to shortstop. He'll strike out Otto Kemp on the splitter, 3rd out of the outing, 2nd out of the inning. Now all that stands between him and a save is Bryson Stott, who he's going to get to pop out to the left fielder Riley Green. He's going to make the catch easily. Kyle Finnegan gets his first save for his hometown Detroit Tigers, and the Tigers get the win. This is Tyler Rogers' first appearance for the New York Mets. Don't confuse him with Taylor Rogers, his twin brother, or Trevor Rogers, no relation. Tyler is one of the last submarine pitchers in MLB, and he's certainly the best submarine pitcher currently in MLB. He gives up a really fluky hit here. It hits off first base and bounces into right field. Elliot Ramos reaches safely. He doesn't throw hard, and he only throws 2 pitches, his 84-mile-per-hour sinker and 74-mile-per-hour slider. But man, is he effective. That arm angle is working wonders for him. One of the lowest expected ERAs in the league at 2.11, and his actual ERA is 1.76. 2 straight pop-outs from Devers and Adames gets him 1 out away from a hold. Here's a slow-mo look at his arm angle. His hand is nearly touching the ground. Then he gets Matt Chapman to roll over a sinker to shortstop to end the inning. At first, I thought this might be a slight overpay for the Mets, getting 1/2 a year of Tyler Rogers, but seeing what relievers are going for in today's game, this is an absolute steal. This is Charlie Morton's first start for the Detroit Tigers. It also happens to be his 400th career start. This is Morton's 18th year in the league and 7th team. Last year and throughout portions of this year, it looked like Charlie Morton might have been washed. But as of lately, he's really turned things around, and it looks like Uncle Charlie still got it. And by it, I mean one of the best curveballs in the league. He can also still get that fastball and sinker up there at 96 miles per hour. There you see a sinker ground out to third base from Trey Turner. And now you see the curveball forcing a ground out to second base from Kyle Schwarber. Another curveball gets a swing and a miss from Bryce Harper, but a fastball on the inside part of the plate gets crushed by Harper down the line for a double. Morton would get Real Muto to ground out to first base though to end the inning. In the second inning, Morton would run into some trouble. Brandon Marsh with a double here would put runners at second and third, and Max Kepler hits in Castellanos with an RBI ground out. From there, Morton would be cruising until the sixth inning where he runs into trouble once again. He can't get the double play right here, but Wenceel Perez is going to bail him out by making a spectacular grab to end the inning here. Morton's perhaps unlucky to get the loss in this one. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, and 6 strikeouts. Merrill Kelly made his first start for the Texas Rangers on Saturday. The 36-year-old starter was drafted 3 times, once by Baltimore, once by Cleveland, and then by Tampa Bay, where he eventually signed. He never made it to the majors with Tampa, instead went over to Korea, where he was the MVP of the KBO. After 4 great seasons overseas, the native of Arizona returned to MLB, signing with the Diamondbacks, as he strikes out Randy Arozarena and Cal Raleigh to start his first start for the Rangers. Kelly spent his 7-year MLB career entirely with the Diamondbacks up until this point. He'll get Julio to fly out to right field to end the first inning. With a really solid contract year up until this point, Kelly put himself in position to be one of the biggest names on the trade market at this deadline, and the Rangers snapped him up to be part of their rotation. In this one, Kelly's great control was on display, and he had good stuff going. But unfortunately, in the 6th inning, a balk and an error would force 2 runs in and force him out of the ballgame. 5 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, and 6 strikeouts. He got a no decision in this one, but not too shabby of a start to his Rangers career. This is Louis Varland's first appearance for the Toronto Blue Jays. The hard-throwing right-handed reliever was one of the many Minnesota Twins relievers to be traded at the deadline. Varland is a ground ball machine. He uses a 5-pitch mix, mostly his fastball and curveball, which are his 2 most effective pitches. Fastball with an average velocity of 98 miles per hour, but also mix in a sinker, slider, and changeup. Here, you're going to see his big curveball as he gets a swing and a miss from Randall Grichuk. Varland is a pretty decent reliever and pretty important to the Twins fans' culture, especially on Twitter. He wasn't even on my radar to be traded at this year's deadline, as he hasn't even reached arbitration yet. Here he's going to get Grichuk to ground out to second base, but as we saw with many other Twins relievers, nobody was safe. Obviously, Varland was doing his PFPs because he makes this play easily. Then he strikes at Kyle Isbell for a perfect inning of relief in his first outing with the Blue Jays. This is Griffin Jax's first appearance for the Tampa Bay Rays. It was being reported that Jax was very unlikely to be traded in the final hours of the deadline, with reporters saying that the asking price was just too high for the Twins reliever. But as it turned out, there was nobody safe on the Twins roster at this year's deadline. Jax was traded to Tampa Bay in exchange for Taj Bradley. Bradley at one time was a top pitching prospect for the Rays, but he's been pretty average in his first 3 major league seasons. Jax is having a down year this year, but he's a strikeout machine. I'm expecting Tampa Bay to turn him into an absolute monster as he starts Ohtani off with a strike, 2 strikes, and he forces some weak contact to second base. Unfortunately, the second baseman is unable to come up with it. Jack's in a bit of a pickle here, runners at first and third. Mookie Betts up now. He's going to get a sac fly. Jax's best pitch is probably his sweeper. He throws it a lot. His changeup is really good too, and his fastball is getting up there at 97 miles per hour. 2 outs now. He's going to make a good pitch to Freddie Freeman, but Freeman's going to put this one to the warning track. Mangum reaches up and robs the home run, getting Jax out of trouble. 1 hit, 1 run, 1 walk, 1 inning. This is Brock Stewart's return to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Stewart was recently acquired from the Minnesota Twins straight up for James Outman, an outfielder who the Dodgers deemed expendable. This is actually Stewart's 3rd stint with the Dodgers. He made his major league debut for them back in 2016, then went and played for the Blue Jays and Cubs before rejoining the Dodgers organization in 2020. He never got the call to the big leagues during the shortened season in 2020 and missed all of 2021 with injury. But now he's back in LA for a 3rd time, and I think this time it's going to go a little bit better for him. So far in 2025, Stewart has been legit one of the best relievers in the sport. He is in the 98th percentile for expected ERA and expected batting average at 2.33 and .188 respectively. Since Stewart's rookie year, he's added 3 miles per hour to his fastball. He's added a sweeper and a cutter. He's also changed the shape of his changeup to add more drop and less tail. He strikes out a lot of batters, and the ones that do make contact have a hard time barreling it up. I think this is one of the most underrated trades made at this year's deadline. He's going to make a difference in October. Michael Soroka made his Chicago Cubs debut on his 28th birthday. Soroka recently acquired in a trade with the Washington Nationals. He made his MLB debut back in 2018 with the Atlanta Braves. He was an all-star in 2019 and even finished 6th in Cy Young voting. He missed all of 2021 and 2022 with injury, and since the injury, he's struggled to find that all-star form. But in 2024 and 2025 with the White Sox and Nationals, despite his poor record, he's been a pretty average MLB starter. But in 2025, the expected stats suggest that he's probably a little bit unlucky to be just average. His slurve has been one of the best pitches in baseball, and you'll see exactly why in this inning. Striking out a pretty hard batter to strike out TJ Friedl on the slurve. He'll walk his second batter, Matt McClain. He'll come right back and get his second out with the backwards K to Elly De La Cruz on the slurve. Matt McClain does steal second base though, but it does not end up mattering as he gets Austin Hayes swinging on the slurve. 3 strikeouts in his first inning as a Cub. I highlighted Soroka as one of the steals of the deadline, and through 1 inning, he's looking like it. In the second inning, he would give up his first hit and run as a Cub with this home run to Tyler Stevenson. He would get out of the second inning with that being his only blemish, but he was removed from the game after that with right shoulder discomfort. Really hoping that this isn't something too serious and Soroka can get back onto the field as soon as possible. Bailey Falter is set to make his first career start for the Kansas City Royals after recently being acquired from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Despite not missing a lot of bats, the lefty has put together a pretty decent year, but he would falter in tonight's start, giving up a hit to the leadoff man Romy Gonzalez. A single to Alex Bregman puts runners at the corners, and just like that, the newest member of the Royal family finds himself in quite a pickle. A walk to Wilyer Abreu loads the bases. Still no outs. Rob Refsnyder's going to bring in 2 with an RBI single. Falter would bounce back here, getting Trevor Story to pop out in foul territory to Miguel Garcia. Back-to-back pop-outs would get us to 2 outs as Ceddanne Rafaela skies this one to Vinny Pasquantino. Falter has a chance to get out of this one relatively unscathed, but a Jarren Duran 3-run home run makes this a 5-run first inning. Definitely not how you want to start your career with a new team. Falter would remain in the game for 4 innings, but he would give up 8 hits, 7 runs, while only recording 2 strikeouts. He would also pick up the loss. Here's to better days for Bailey Falter. This is JP Sears' first start for the San Diego Padres. We're picking this one up in the bottom of the 3rd. He's already given up 2 runs to the Diamondbacks. Sears, an underrated piece of the Mason Miller trade. Everyone's talking about Mason Miller, everyone's talking about Leo DeVries, but no one's really talking about JP Sears. Sears isn't the hardest thrower, but he's got a nasty sweeper and is a beyond serviceable starting pitcher who has years of control left. He has some consistency issues as he faces off against Tyler Locklear, who is going to take him deep here for his first home run in a Diamondbacks uniform. Locklear was the big return in the Josh Naylor trade for the D-backs. He is a first baseman prospect that never really caught on at the major league level for Seattle, but he has a new chance for playing time here in Arizona. And obviously, he's getting off to a pretty good start right here in his 4th game, already hitting his first home run. I'm not super high on Locklear, but if he could pan out, that could be a great return for half a year of Josh Naylor. This is Adrian Hauser's first start for the Tampa Bay Rays. The longtime Milwaukee Brewer was a solid starter for the majority of his career, but when he was traded to the New York Mets in 2024, he really struggled. The Mets let him walk and he signed a minor league deal with the Texas Rangers, but he never made the Rangers major league roster. They released him in May. From there, he would sign a major league contract with the Chicago White Sox and proceeded to have the best half season of his career. It was no surprise though that Hauser was going to be traded at this year's trade deadline as he strikes out Zach Neto for his first out as a Ray. He is a free agent at year's end, and the White Sox are nowhere near the playoffs. But as the deadline drew to a close, Hauser was one of the last players to be traded. It was suspected that he was maybe a lot of teams' backup option as a starting pitcher. Here, Hauser strikes out Mike Trout. The Rays swooped in and got Hauser with a prospect package centering around first baseman Curtis Mead. Hauser is a sinker baller who relies on avoiding the barrel of the bat, but it was death by 1,000 paper cuts tonight for him against the Angels, as he gave up 11 hits in this one in 5 2/3 innings, and maybe he took some bigger cuts too, as he gave up 3 doubles and 2 home runs on the way to giving up 5 earned runs. Hauser only got 3 strikeouts in this one, not the best way to start a Rays career, and his first half production is definitely not sustainable, but I wouldn't give up on him just yet. This is Zach Littell's first start for the Cincinnati Reds. Recently acquired from the Tampa Bay Rays in exchange for prospects Brian Van Bell and Adam Siranowski. The first batter he faces is Michael Busch, ripping a single into right field, breaking up the no-hitter. Littell was a longtime journeyman reliever before he got to Tampa Bay, where the Rays decided to try him out as a starter, and he was debatably their ace during his tenure in Tampa. He walks Ian Happ on 4 pitches, 2 consecutive base runners to start his Reds career. Littell stands about as far left as you can get on the pitcher's mound, and he really relies on players chasing his slider and splitter to get outs. He's outperformed his expected metrics this year, which isn't a great sign, but he's gonna shake off those first inning jitters here, getting Kyle Tucker to strike out on the splitter. Same outcome from fellow all-star PCA. And then Willie Castro fails to check his swing on the fastball up and out of the zone. Littell gets out of the first inning with 3 straight strikeouts. And really, in this one, he was cruising, only giving up 3 more base runners since that first inning. And he would pitch 7 innings, only giving up 1 earned run while striking out 8. Really, a very solid outing for the Reds' new starting pitcher, as he would also pick up the win in this one. This is Ryan Bergert's Kansas City Royals debut. The native of Canton, Ohio, went to Glen Oak High School before committing to West Virginia University for college. During his college career in 2021, he got Tommy John surgery, but was drafted in the same year to the San Diego Padres. He made his debut for the Padres as a reliever in 2025 before being traded to the Royals for Freddie Fermin. Bergert's not going to overpower you with the fastball, but he's got a good slider and sweeper, and does a good job of missing the barrel of the bat. You see the slider right there, you're going to see the sweeper right here as he gets Jarren Duran to foul one off. He'll follow that up with another sweeper that Jarren Duran skies out to right field for Bergert's first out in a Royals uniform. Bergert has kept his ERA under 3 in 41 innings in the big leagues so far, and he's now a rookie starting pitcher for the Royals with many years of team control. He'll get Willie Abreu to chase a changeup out of the zone to end the inning, a perfect inning to start his Kansas City career. The rest of his outing wasn't exactly perfect, as he would pick up the loss, but it was promising. He went 5 2/3, giving up 2 runs, 2 hits, 2 walks, while picking up 2 strikeouts. The walk to Alex Bregman would signal the end to his day today, but I think he's got a pretty good chance of putting together a good career in Kansas City. This is Dustin May's first start for the Boston Red Sox. May was recently acquired from the Los Angeles Dodgers, where he had a 6-7 record on the year. May has had 2 Tommy John surgeries in his career, and this is the first healthy season he's had in a while. In his best years in 2020 and 2023, May relied on a high-velocity fastball. This year, he's lost a few ticks on it, especially in the later innings. In 2025, he switched to a sweeper-heavy approach. He'll also occasionally throw a cutter, which has been his least effective pitch so far. The Dodgers were set to move him to the bullpen before trading him to Boston, and with how much the fastball drops off as he gets deeper into games, I think that might be the best route for his career going forward. Mike Yastrzemski's the first batter he faces for the Red Sox, and he gets a single, but May reaches deep into his bag and pulls on a 97-mile-per-hour fastball that gets Bobby Witt to fly out to right field. Then you see his nasty sweeper as he strikes out Pasquantino on a ball that hits him. He would walk Miguel Garcia before getting Sal Perez to fly out on a sweeper to finish his first inning in Fenway. But by the 4th inning, May looked pretty much gassed, allowing Kyle Isbell to get this single on a 93-mile-per-hour sinker, scoring 2 runs. And that would be pretty much the end of the day for May. 3 2/3, 6 hits, 3 runs, 4 Ks. I think he may be destined for a move to the bullpen, but hey, maybe he'll be the next great Red Sox closer. This is Nestor Cortez's first start for the San Diego Padres. He came to the Padres from the Brewers in the Brandon Lockridge deal. Cortez only pitched 2 games for the Brewers after being acquired by Milwaukee in the Devin Williams deal. And he hasn't pitched in the majors since April. In those 2 starts from Milwaukee, one was absolutely horrible and the other was fine. Cortez really doesn't throw hard. He's more of a junk baller that relies on throwing hitters off their rhythm to get outs. Here he's going to get Ketel Marte to fly out to right field. I personally am not a big fan of Nestor Cortez, and he's going to throw this one right down down the middle to Corbin Carroll, and predictably, he's going to hit it 420 dead center. Cortez was a way below average pitcher early in his career before his second stint in New York, where he really turned things around. After the homer, he gives up a single to Geraldo Perdomo, but he gets Lourdes Gurriel to ground in to an inning-ending double play, getting out of the first inning relatively unscathed. He really didn't pitch that bad in this game, but he didn't make it out of the fifth inning. 3 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts in his Padres debut. This is James Outman's first hit for the Minnesota Twins. Outman was acquired from the Dodgers at this year's trade deadline in exchange for reliever Brock Stewart. He's going to hit this one to the wall. Wencel Perez is not going to be able to make the catch, and Outman's going to get there easily with a stand-up triple. He's going to ask for the ball to commemorate his first hit for Minnesota. Outman, who at one time looked like one of the brightest young stars in the league after a really solid rookie season with the Dodgers, was immediately outrighted to AAA by the Twins after he was acquired at the deadline. And honestly, it makes sense. He's had a rough 2025 to say the least. A batting average of just .106 and an OPS of .490. Outman's hoping this new look Twins team can be a new opportunity for him in his career. Meanwhile, one of the many players traded away by Minnesota was the starting pitcher in this game for the Tigers. That being Chris Paddack, and he struggled in this one. 5 2/3 innings, 8 runs given up, 4 of them off this grand slam to his fishing buddy, Brooks Lee. 9 hits, 3 of them being home runs, 3 walks while only picking up 4 strikeouts. But hey, maybe this was the Twins' plan for Paddack all along. A double agent. This is Rafael Devers' first at bat as a San Francisco Giant. And it comes against Slade Cecconi and the Cleveland Guardians. Let's see how he does. Ball 1. Devers, of course, a Red Sox legend. His controversial trade has taken the internet by storm in the past couple days as he takes strike 2. He's obviously a great hitter. There's some questions on where he's going to play defensively, if at all, for the Giants. But at the end of the day, you're getting a great bat here as he swings and misses at a Cecconi fastball, strike 2. Let's see if Cecconi can put him away here, and he's going to bounce a curveball in front of the plate. We got a 2-2 count. The Guardians have been struggling as of late. The Giants have been doing pretty well. And Devers is going to chase out of the zone on a Cecconi fastball here. He's down swinging. His first at bat for the Giants is a strikeout to Slade Cecconi. Don't worry, Giants fans. I'm sure Devers is going to hit plenty of balls into McCovey Cove, just not against Slade Cecconi. He's a beast.